Cartography. In postcolonial studies, maps are significant as instruments of colonial control, of spatial organization of their homelands, and as symbols of divisive forces. Maps in postcolonial studies are seen as representing not only colonialism's epistemological conquest of the lands, but also as artifacts that are iconic of appropriation and political control. Both literally and metaphorically, maps and mapping are dominant practices of colonial and post-colonial cultures. The process of discovery is reinforced by the construction of maps, whose existence is a means of textualizing the spatial reality of the other, naming or in almost all cases, renaming spaces in a symbolic and literal act of mastery and control. Early modern maps are organized around a center margins form, with Europe occupying the center and with the rest of the world arranged at the periphery. Explorers and voyagers predicated their quest for new lands, routes, and civilizations on maps, and this mapping of the world led to the European discovery of the New World and Asia. Maps, therefore, were inspirational texts, even when inaccurate or completely erroneous, because they textually organized the world into known and the unknown, calling upon the Europeans to explore the unknown. The measurement of the world necessary for map making relied upon European models of geography and mathematics with latitudes, longitudes, and navigational aids. Maps subsequently produced gave European names to newly discovered places and established European textual, epistemic, and material control over these spaces. Such acts of naming ignored the local inhabitants' names for their places. The maps were constructed based on the assumption that the newly discovered lands were empty. This was particularly the case with Australia and Canada, where the presence of local people and cultures was completely ignored in favor of a discourse of terra nullius, the Latin land belonging to no one, and translated as empty lands. Maps marking these spaces as empty were therefore presented to the European public as ready for settlement by Europeans. Map making was professionalized in England with institutions like the Royal Geographical Society. Travelers like Francis Buchanan, Mungo Park, and James Cook enabled the making and redrawing of maps by sending in updated information from their expeditions. Maps were also part of the survey modality of colonialism, pinpointing places, people, and events. Maps were totalizing projects, combining with their scheme topographies, routes, people, and resources, all made available at a single glance. Zoological, ethnographic, archaeological, botanical, mineralogical surveys of lands were conducted in most of the colonies across Asia and Africa.